How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if we would? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if the woodchuck could chuck wood?
Yeah, perfect.
Close enough. All right, cool. Yeah. All right, and break. Let's do this. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Monoxide Podcast. I am your host, Harris, a.k.a. Monoxide, local photographer, videographer, man of many automotive aspirations. And I am here with my co-host, Sean.
Wow, that was a really great intro for yourself. I don't think I can top that, but you can find me. I'm usually driving a blue Durango or orange BMW, pretty rare, 1M. This is the Monoxide Podcast. This is where we take you beyond the meat and we kind of introduce you to some of the people in our community that make it so great.
Would you like to introduce people to your leaky Durango, or should I talk about my leaky Golf?
We don't have to talk about that right now. I just got back from Power Cruise. I'm really tired, and so is the Durango.
Starting the episode off with a cough. So today we have a new guest on the podcast, which we do every single episode. We try to talk to people, as Sean mentioned, to people in the car community. Today we have Dylan Pride, local drifter, man of fun automotive stuff.
Yep.
We've only chatted like once or twice on social media, but I thought you'd be a great fit. You're very well known in the Minnesota community, so why don't you just kick it off? And man, I got real stutters this morning. We do not record this early usually. Why don't you just go ahead, kick us off, tell us a little bit about yourself, your builds, and then what's it called? A little bit about drifting.
All right. I'm Dylan Pride, D Pride, man of the blessings.
Is that what you go by?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't go
not
by
officially,
that,
but
yeah. I bless cars.
Do you have a tramp stamp that says that by chance?
No,
or
I wish. I've been into drifting since 2017, ever since I was 16, 17 years old. And I have a 1989 Toyota Cressida with a VVTi 1JZ, and I drift it. It's pretty fun.
So what made you want to jump into drifting in the first place? So because like a lot of people in the car community, they kind of choose a direction. Like they'll choose drag racing, road course, autocross. Drifting seems to be, I want to say, up and coming Minnesota, or maybe I'm just out of the loop.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely gotten a lot more popular since I started. Back in 2017 when I started, there was just all the what you would consider OGs now.
Yeah.
So when I got into it, I was looking up to a lot of older people that are like 5 years older than me at least, and I don't know. Yeah. I've always been into like drifting and stuff like that. Like back when I was younger, watching like Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, that was my favorite movie of them. And then I saw it happen at BIR. I was at Wednesday Night Drift when they kind of first started. And I was watching drifting there, and I thought that was cool. And then right after that, I wanted to get a drift vehicle, something rear-wheel drive and manual. And then I went to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, like, Final Bout. That's, like, at US Air in Wisconsin there. I went to a special stage, which is, like, pretty much like a qualifying event for the real Final Bout. And I was watching all the cool low cars there, and I was like, this is the drifting that I want to do. Like, I want to do this style of drifting. Because there's different styles. You have, like, grassroots, and then you have, like, pro driving. More pro cars, like, faster, bigger angle, stuff like that. Like, the style of drifting that I'm into is more of, like, a low power, not lower power, but, like, lowish power. Like, you're not focused on that, and not like a whole bunch of angle, and not focused on, like, you're focused on having fun versus winning is more the aspect of it, I guess.
So this is something this is an area I have no clue about. Like that's why I've been trying to watch Adam LZ more, because I'm trying to learn about this and just people like within that scene. So if you have any tips, let me know who I should watch and learn, because like again, I'm trying to know all aspects of the community, but
for sure,
I never understood how does the racing aspect of drifting work? Like, you know, like Formula Drift, like I don't understand.
For Formula Drift, so that's the pro side that I was talking about. Yeah. So that's more of like you get judged by your clipping points and how close you are and stuff like that, and like obviously if you spin out, then you don't win that round or something like that, or if you hit somebody and they spin out, then
Mustang style.
So, something like that happens, and then it's usually not good for you. But I'm also not very well versed in Formula Drift.
It's a whole other level, yeah.
So I'm just speaking off what I see. But they go off of your angle, how close you are, where you are in your clipping points in the inside zone or outside zone, depending on what you need to be, and you just get points off of that.
Oh, it's kind of coming back to me because it was on a Grand Tour episode, I want to say, when Hammond was working with that, like, was it armless or legless?
No, armless.
Armless drifter or whatever, like the professional drifter or whatever. Did you ever see that episode?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so.
I think it's a few years old now, but you have to be at like a certain angle at like a certain point or whatever. Yep. Like a racing line.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, it's if you're in the line or not in the line also. Right. Yeah, because there's like, let's say like there's an outside zone, then you got to get there, and then like there's an inside zone, you got to get on the inside instead of being more on the outside.
Right.
Like it's just you'll know where the clipping points are before you drive, but then you just have to get there, and that's where the skill comes in, because you have drivers that don't know how to do that, and they just kind of go around the corner sideways and then
hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But usually in Formula Drift, it's not like that. They're pretty good to where they know where they need to be, and they can execute it pretty well. So.
What about the style of drifting that you do? Are you still competing, or is it just purely, spectacle?
So most events it's just for fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I guess you could compare it to like go-kart racing. Like you're not actually out there to like do something.
Yeah, you're not there trying to win, champion.
You're just there to have fun with your friends.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I go there to do. Most of the time, like in the morning, I'll drive by myself for a little bit, but then I try to drive with my friends and my team.
Yeah.
And but there is events like Final Bout, which Final Bout you have to get invited to special stage, which is the pre-Final Bout pretty much. And then you drive with your team, and if your team does good and looks good, it's just more about like how you look, really. So if you're super far apart, like we were at special stage this year, you don't win. But if you're close together and you seem like you're getting along with your team well in the driving aspect, like everybody's doing good, then you're going to do a lot better, and you get judged off of how you look and stuff like that, versus like your line is judged subtly, but it's also in a team aspect. So if one dude's doing good, then and the rest of them aren't, then you're not going to win.
Right.
Like you're not going to get judged very well, because
it's a team sport.
Exactly. You have to be in it together. But yeah, like I said, like Final Bout events, then you're just there to have fun. But driving close together with your team is the best part.
Right. So this is more like a hobby.
Yeah.
And is this an expensive hobby?
It's pretty expensive, yeah. I mean, back when I was telling him, back when I was LS, it was a lot more expensive than it is now for me, because I had like a 400 horsepower LS, and I was going through 3 pairs of tires a day at least, and that was on a good day. And now I've only driven one event with the 1J in my car, and that maybe makes 300 horsepower, and I didn't even go through a full pair of tires for the whole day.
Oh wow.
So it's a lot more cost effective for me now.
Nice.
Which is kind of what I was going for, because the 400 horsepower was kind of, you just clutch kick once and then you don't have to try. It's just, you kind of just hold your foot to the floor and left foot brake, and it's really, I feel like I have better driver experience with the other engine now, the 1JZ.
Yeah.
So
do you feel like you're getting like, is it more, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like more engaging?
Yeah, it's a lot more like, you have to be a lot more into it.
Right.
When you're driving with
not
the
just
1J.
relying on the power.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like I said, with the LS, I could just stay on the gas and left foot brake where I needed to, and that was really it. It wasn't hard.
So what about like the tune and the build? Okay, let's back up, because I don't think we even mentioned on this episode yet. So what is your car, and take us through the build of the car, I suppose.
So I have a 1989 Toyota Cressida with a 1JZ BBTI in it, R154 trans. It's stock ECU, stock turbo. The only thing that's done to the engine is like I have a front mount intercooler and a full 3-inch straight pipe, and that's it.
Oh, so is it not even like a tuned engine or anything?
No, it's bone stock tuned.
They make that much power stock?
Yeah.
Wait,
Well, with the intercooler and the
Yeah.
exhaust,
Oh, okay.
it makes it up to like 15 psi versus the stock is like 12, I want to
Okay.
say, or 10 or something like that. So that helps a lot. It's just more flowing with the intercooler and exhaust.
So then, do you work on it yourself, or do you have like somebody that you take it to in particular?
I work on it 100% myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
I mean, friends will come and help me stuff like that, like bleeding the clutch or something like that.
Yeah, help me out
but,
for a case of beer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, other than that, I've built the car myself. Actually, the first drift vehicle I had was a 1994 Ford Ranger.
Okay.
with a 2.3 liter non-turbo, just 5-speed. I got it for like $300 in Duluth.
Okay.
And I towed it back to my house in St. Cloud, and it needed a rear end, so I put like a bigger rear end and stuff like that in there, because eventually I was planning on like doing like a 5.0 swap out of like a SN95 Mustang or something like that.
Okay.
So that was the original plan, but then I was drifting it, and it didn't really have angle, and it cost me like way more to lower it than you would think.
Okay.
And like actually be reliably low and not I had a big three-wheeling problem and a big wheel hop problem with that vehicle. So
sounds about right for me.
Yeah.
That's where I stand with the old GTI.
So I was putting a bunch of money into suspension, trying to make it like good-ish. You know?
Viable.
Yeah, but I wasn't even focusing on the engine and trans at that point, and eventually I was just sick of not having power, and because like they make like 90 horsepower.
Yeah, that was probably a hard, like, you set yourself on like hard mode instantly.
Well, personally, I think that drifting, you should start out with a lower power car.
That's what
it's
I've
good
heard.
it's good to learn on lower power, and then once you get experience in how the feel of like the inertia and stuff like that, like once you get all that experience, then go to something higher horsepower. So that's what I did. I was actually planning on keeping the Ranger, and I had a 2.3 turbo for it out of a old Thunderbird.
Okay.
And I was going to put that in it, but then I got this Cressida from my friend that he had this Cressida for the whole first season that we were drifting. But then he upgraded and got a different Cressida, and they sold me this one, and I was just going to throw an LS in it because everybody was like, "Oh, LS is so cheap. It's like super cheap to do." And I was just going to have the LS Cressida be like my throw around car, like not care about it, you know, just my practice car, I guess you could say. And then I was going to have the 2.3 turbo Ranger, and that was going to be my main drift vehicle. And then I started getting into the LS and buying stuff. I got the engine for free, actually. But
how'd you manage that?
I have a buddy that he flips LS engines, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So he kind of just had an extra 5.3 laying around. He's like, "Yeah, you can just have it." And I was like, "All right, this is real cheap getting into it."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I had to buy accessories. You got to buy the intake. You got to buy the oil pan. You got to buy the very expensive transmission.
Yep. Starts adding up really quick.
So then I was like, all right, well, this is going to be the only drift car. So then I sold my truck. I ended up selling it for like $1,000 or something like that because nobody wanted it, and I didn't want it anymore. So, so yeah, I was doing the LS swap from 2017 to 2018, and it was actually on a different Cressida chassis. So the one that I have now is different from the one I had at first. That one I just did the swap, and it was very cheap. Well, it was still expensive, but I did it as cheap as I could because I was only 17, 18 doing it, like barely working 40 hours a week at O'Reilly's. And
right. So you're about my age then.
Yeah, I'm 23.
23. I just turned 24. What was it, last Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for dinner, by the way, Sean.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Happy belated.
I still owe you one more from last year.
Yeah, we were talking about this last night at dinner. It's like I'm the worst at taking, like, you know, when people are like, "Hey, let me take you out to dinner." It's like, all right, I'm going to avoid that person for a while. Like, I'm so bad about that.
Oh.
But, okay, so you have been building this thing for a while now. So this is like your go-to drift car. So, and now you have the 1JZ in there. Do you have any, like, aspiration to, like, what do you want to do with it in the future, or do you like it where it's at right now?
Actually, I was talking to my teammate about it. I was like, man, I was really thinking about doing like a bigger turbo and stuff like that this winter, and do Hall Tech ECU and stuff like that. Like
Jesus.
everything. Like, and then I was like, but I drove the car now, and I honestly really like it how it is.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I enjoy it just how it is. Like, there's some small things like, I have a boost cut issue because it's over boosting a little bit, but I can fix that. And then just some basic like wiring stuff that I need to fix. But other than that, like the car runs and drives fine, and I really like it how it is, and the power level, because like I said, I don't go through as many tires or anything. So, because if I put a big turbo and a Haltech and everything on it, I'd be probably making 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want to do that again. So I really think that I'm going to leave the car for at least probably 3 years. Just how it is. I mean, I'll probably get a new body kit and stuff like that because
make a little showy.
Mine's all banged up right now. So
yeah, are those body kits generally like cheaper because if you're hitting like walls or they're obviously meant to be like quick and
yep.
you want to change them out.
So my body kit is it's a BN Sports rep kit, so it's not a real kit. BN Sports, the real one, is like, I want to say $2,700 plus 6 months out at least.
Oh gosh.
From BN Japan, and then my kit is actually, it's Fine Line Tuning is who makes it out in California, and it's only like $935 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. I mean, this is my third kit already, so
yeah,
I've definitely spent a good amount in kits, and I plan on buying another one this winter because I don't like when my body kit's all banged up.
Yeah, you want to look good.
Yeah, and I mean I can fix it. I do fiberglass work and stuff like that myself.
Okay.
And,
oh really?
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna fix the one that I have. I'll fix it up and make it look nice for like a spare body kit, just in case.
Got an extra.
Yeah, just in case I run over my body kit at an event, which I have done before. I have a video of me running my bumper over clear, like 18 pieces at least.
Oh,
yeah.
Freaking nuts.
Yeah.
Respect to you on doing your own fiberglass work, by the way. Like, I actually got to see that in person, like a work in progress. So it was a client of mine I was shooting, I want to say 2 months ago, Rogers Rods and Customs up in, it's kind of close to you up there. No, it's like 40 minutes north of you. But yeah, it was like a bunch of these like old like 80s, 70s cars, like work in progress, and they're like, halfway through redoing the fire. It's crazy what you can do. Like, respect people who could do that. So how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing fiberglass work ever since I got fiberglass, pretty much.
Okay.
I was like, well, I'm not going to pay somebody hundreds of dollars to do this because it seems like I can do it, and I can. At first, I wasn't as good as I am now, for sure.
Right.
But
it's like that toxic traits. Like, you see something, like, for example, like I'll see like boxing videos or whatever on TikTok. Yeah. Like, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
Is that how it started out, and then you just kind of got better?
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing with painting. I do my own painting stuff now, and I even paint for some people if they want it and stuff like that. Because surprisingly, I got very good in a short amount of time.
Okay.
Because one of my friends up in St. Cloud, Mitch, he went to body school, and I hung out with him pretty much the whole time I lived up in St. Cloud, and he taught me everything that he knows about body work. So that kind of helped me to do my own thing, and he helped me paint my car because my car was maroon, and now it's blue.
Dude, I love that. By the way, there's I think it's your cover photo on Facebook, maybe, or whatever, like the one where it's like, it's just a really good shot.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about. It's a ridiculously good looking car.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah, that's our team color for our drift team.
Yeah, what is your team color? I haven't seen this picture.
Supersonic blue metallic. I can pull it up if you want.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Yeah, we might as well show it to Sean over here, and then for the hashtag highlight reel. But no, so that's the other thing I was going to ask you. So tell us a little bit about your team.
That's probably the cover photo you're talking about.
No, it's like a side shot almost. Like,
oh.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it later.
Okay.
I might have been on when I was creepy on your Instagram, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I post a lot of my car on the Instagram.
Yeah,
so.
which you should. Like, it's freaking awesome. And it's like, I love that it's like, again, I wasn't around in like the early 2000s and the, whatever, to see how big drifting was back then, but it just really seems like it's been popping off, especially in the last like decade.
Yeah, in Minnesota especially, because Minnesota, like I said, when I started, even it was very small compared to what it is now. Like, it's probably grown 60% since 2017, since I started, which is kind of ridiculous, which kind of sucks because I feel like there needs to be more tracks and stuff like that because like,
and they're all getting shut down too, which sucks.
Well, that and also like everybody's getting more strict and the driver caps and stuff like that. It's just it's hard for anybody to get seat time nowadays. Like the Wednesday night drift stuff at BIR is really nice because they do like 10 a year now. They used to only do like 3 or 4.
Okay.
And now they do a lot. So it's nice because you can just go up there, pay $25 and drive for the whole night.
Yeah,
I kind of want to go up and see that actually.
It's the same time they do Wednesday night drags.
Okay.
They do drift.
Yep.
Is there something else that they do?
They do autocross, but the autocross days are opposite from the drifting days. So like they use the skid pad at BIR. So whenever autocross is there, then drifting won't be. But yeah, I don't know how much autocross has been up there recently because that's why they used to only have 4 Wednesday night drifts a year is because autocross would alternate with them. So I don't know if they're not doing that anymore or if they. I haven't been up there since like 2020, honestly. So doing the Wednesday night stuff. So yeah. So
tell us a little bit about like your team because you keep mentioning your team. So like how many people? Like who are the people? I guess.
So my team is Street Lust. The shirt.
That's a cool shirt actually.
Yeah,
I like
thanks. So it's my friend Cody Edel. He originally started it when he lived in Florida in 2015, I think it is, and then he moved up here and he became friends with all of us up here, which is me, my friend Moises, Frankie. He's been friends with Frankie for a very long time, like since they were like 16 years old. Now they're like 30, so so they've been friends for a long time before Street Lust and stuff like that. And then Tyler Mum, yeah. So that's our whole team is just 5 of us.
So then, how does the team aspect kind of, I guess, work? So how do you guys like? So you guys practice together and stuff, I'm guessing, or
yeah, when we go to events, we try to go to the same events and practice and do tandems and stuff like that to get closer in proximity and just drive better, feel each other out, kind of. And I kind of messed that up because I did the swap, so I got to feel my whole new car out and stuff like that, like just completely different driving aspect. But yeah, so we try to go to events together and do what we can.
What do all they drive?
So yeah, I have the Cressida. Cody Edel has a JZX90 Mark II with a 1J in it also. Okay. That's factory in that car. And then Frankie has a SC400 that we're in the middle of doing a manual swap on. Moises has a stock 5-speed IS300 and Tyler has a stock 5-speed IS300. Okay. So those are both just like the NA2J that comes in them.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's freaking sweet.
So, yeah.
I really want to shoot some drift cars. I haven't shot any since like I want to say Proving Grounds pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Like I feel
that's when all the cool ones were there.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of the drifters that have really cool cars in Minnesota. I feel like they just don't drive that much anymore, just because they're older, they have kids, stuff like that, like just family stuff.
Because they can afford it, but then they don't have the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, either that or they just can't afford it anymore either.
Oh, there's that too.
Just tires have gone up a lot and stuff like that. So it's just.
Or to get more kids.
The supply too, I'm sure, is an issue.
Yeah.
With especially more people wanting to drift.
Yeah. I know. Back in like 2018 and stuff like that, even Kenda KR20As or KR20s back then actually, they would have a set amount that they would have every year, and then once they ran out, they ran out.
Oh wow!
So right about now would be when they run out. And
what type of tires do you usually use for drifting?
So yeah, the Kendas, the KR20s, well, they're KR20As now. It's just a newer version. Those are really good. They're grippy. And then there's Ironmans, which those are a cheaper tire. Those are the ones that I run now, actually, because they last a while with a lower horsepower car. And yeah, it's a lot of just like eBay brands that you find out are good, and then everybody starts buying them, and then they get more expensive, and then you just have to find a new eBay brand that's cheaper.
So what makes like a good drift tire?
Pretty much as long as it can handle the heat that you're going through with it, and it doesn't chunk. You just want that,
right.
because I know there's also Accelera 651 Sports. They're good tires, but they don't last as long as you would think because they're designed specifically for drifting, and they're kind of expensive. They're almost the same price as Kendas, but I think they last about half as long as a Kenda. So, but they do burn nice and smooth. They don't chunk usually.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's nice.
Something else that I was thinking about since 2017, a lot of YouTubers have been getting into like drifting, like Adam LZ.
Yep.
Chris Fix built the SN95 drift stang, and I think like a lot of these like DIY YouTubers are kind of showing like here's how easy it is and how cheap it is, and a lot of people are starting to go like, oh, like I could get into this sport. Like I already have a Mustang.
Exactly.
Let me turn it into a drift missile.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It is very cheap to get into if you want to, like if you just want to get 350Z or an E36 BMW or a Mustang or something like that. Like those are fairly affordable chassis right now still. But then once you get into it, you're like, okay, I want to do seat, coilovers.
Yep, starts ramping
angle,
up really quick.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, so it's just a downhill spiral.
Yeah, I think Donut Media also did a really cool series, High Low, with the 350Zs.
Oh yeah, they built like a cheap one and then they built a expensive one.
And they at the end of it they did like LS swap, turbos, twin turbo, single turbo.
Yep.
That's actually one of my favorite series from them, is like their high lows and just kind of showing off like here's what you get with expensive parts, here's what you get with the cheaper parts.
Yeah.
Most of the time cheaper parts still do the same thing as the expensive ones. Maybe you just don't get as many features.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good thing for like them to show off, especially to new drifters and stuff like that. Like they should watch that before they even think about it.
Yeah, and then at the end they kind of show like here's the total, like high car gets like $20,000 worth of parts, and then low car has to do like most of the work themselves. And it's like they're looking for free parts, so it ends up being like they're 20 grand versus they're like 2,000 or something. Like they get like such a small amount of money. And but they still end up being able to compete with the high car.
Yeah, I feel like the thing is like when you're in drifting also, like you should be like fairly mechanically inclined to where you can fix your own things right on the spot or something like that, because like there's so many times where I have like little issues, and like if I didn't know anything I'd be like, well, I have to take it to a mechanic or something like that, or somebody that works on them, which you can't take it to a regular mechanic shop or something like that. Like same with high performance cars obviously, but yeah,
I guess that's where having like a team to like be there to kind of like see the issue and knows like what's going on, that helps out a lot. And being able to do the work yourself, like you said, like if we wanted to get into drifting, I don't know if he'd be calling me all the time.
Oh, dude, I'd be so screwed. Like, I'll be watching Chris Fix regularly. Like, I'll have to figure that out. But it's like Drifters Anonymous. Like, you're there to support each other and take care. Because like, if you don't know something, I'm sure one of your teammates might. And you have a group of 5, so it's like somebody's got to know something.
Yeah, for sure.
This is gonna stick with me until the end of the episode. If I don't ask it. So you mentioned like a grippy tire or whatever earlier. So like, how does that make sense? Because don't you want it to like be slippy or like? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So it really depends on your horsepower level, I guess. Okay. So like when I was LS, with the Acceleras, for example, they're not as grippy as a Kenda. So I can just be on the track, put my foot to the floor, and I'll hit limiter, no problem. Versus if I have a Kenda, then I can put my foot to the floor and I'll speed up. Like I'll gain speed when I'm drifting. So I'm still spinning the tire, but the tire has some type of bite that like it speeds you up. So like let's say I'm super far behind my teammate and I need to catch up. If I have a grippier tire and I just hit the gas, I'm gonna get a lot closer than if I have a not as grippy tire. Like I run Ironmans right now, which they're good tires. They're obviously not nearly as grippy as a Kenda, but for like my horsepower level, I can still catch up and stuff like that if I need to. Okay,
so that makes sense. So like, you still want to be.
You're still sliding.
Yeah. You just want to have that extra control. Okay.
Yeah. It's something that you get into after you get more experience, because obviously when you're when you're first starting out, if you have a 350Z or something like that, or even a stock 240, which nobody has nowadays, but if you have one of those things, then you're going to want to up your tire pressure and just be able to get the tires to spin, really. That's your first goal.
How high of a tire pressure do you usually run?
Well, when you're a beginner with a very low power car, I mean, when I had my Ranger, I was running 80 psi.
Holy shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like very like scary high,
Yeah.
like not safe high, for sure. But now I run 30 to 40, pretty average. And then when I had my LS, when I was like trying to stay on somebody, I think the lowest I aired down to was like 12 psi.
Oh my, that's like drag racing.
Yeah,
Almost.
yeah. I actually have a picture of me drifting, and my wheel is like this close to the ground because the tire's folding over.
Yeah.
Yeah, from so much grab on the ground.
But that's also because and I'm guessing that's like 12 psi cold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when it heats up, like it could be a lot.
15 to 18.
What the hell would 80 heat up to then?
I don't know.
Oh my god.
There was times that my friend he would drive his 240 to Wednesday night drifts, and he would have 80 psi in the tires, and he would have them in his vehicle. And I was like, I don't know if it's worse to be in the vehicle or in the trunk because it's hot out. So I don't know. I was like, just put them in the trunk because at least if they blow up back there, not next to you. I was like, why don't you just air them off when we get there? Yeah, it was.
Dude, it's like a bomb.
It's literally a bomb. Like those tires, it says max PSI is like 45 or something like that.
Right. I was gonna say you're pushing it.
Yeah.
I can't fucking believe that you would go that high. That's insane. I remember when I was at Proving Grounds. I want to say, yeah, again, like 3 or 4 years ago, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm dying. Send help. They had just podcast dying over here. They had like a burnout pit or whatever, right? And I think it was a GTR or whatever. That was a rear-wheel drive converter or whatever, like an R35 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's like 90% rear-wheel drive anyway. But like, it was over there doing donuts, and then the tire blew. And this was like, I want to say 50 yards away from me. Mm-hmm. And when the tire blew, it literally hit on the inside of my leg. Like it got it got close to the Bojangles or whatever the hell you call them. But yeah, so that was like ridiculous. I really do wonder, dude. So how often do you blow tires drifting then?
I avoid it like the plague.
Okay.
You don't want to blow a tire because obviously if you blow a tire, you can mess up your fiberglass aero. You can mess up your quarter panel, stuff like that. Back in 2019 or 2018 when I was just, I didn't care. I would blow tires up all the time. Like just because, like even if I knew that they were getting close, I would just go do donuts and do it till they blow up. And I messed up my quarter panel pretty good a couple times from doing that. So yeah, you kind of want to avoid that. I just go until I feel that they're baldish, and then call it good. Or usually I can feel when they're getting pretty greasy. Like when if I spin out a couple times, I'm like, all right, maybe the tires are a little low on tread. Go get some new ones, type deal.
So then, do you typically have like an inventory of tires at home or anything like that?
Yeah, I have like 10 to 12 sitting at home all the time.
Gosh. So do you just change out the front or rears when they're rears needed, and then your fronts are like basically fine all the time?
Yeah, the fronts, I mean, it's like your average track day tire, I guess you could say, because they're still working with the grip and everything like that, because I have very grippy front tires, so I can kind of steer and just go where I want to. Because if you don't have grippy front tires, you can understeer and then just kind of push into like dirt or into a teammate.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't want to do that. So so you want very controllable front tires, which I usually run those Acceleras. They're very good for the front.
Okay.
They last at least a whole season, which, I mean,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good if you think about it. Mm-hmm. And then, the rears, like I said, I only go through about a pair a day now, so it's not too bad. And those tires I can usually get like $120 for a pair.
Okay.
So they're a lot cheaper than like a grippy tire. Mm-hmm. Yeah. At least the Ironmans are.
Well, yeah, especially if you're getting most of the work done, then still get what because you're not competing quite yet. Have you done any like actual competitions though?
I have not actually.
Not yet.
Well, I did a tandem comp at BIR 1 year, but
right.
my tire debeated, so I lost.
Oh. Right. That'll do it.
Yep.
Have you ever? Well, what's the craziest, I guess, like breakdown or damage you've done? Do you have anything insane?
I mean,
like
I've blown 3 LSs. Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Like 3 of them. So they were all 5.3s. And the thing is with LSs, they can get oil starved in drifting very easily.
Right.
So I had a stock GTO pan, and all the oil will go to one side, so the pickup wouldn't get any oil.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the main issue. And then the cylinder 7 and 8 rod bearing would always go out. And when I had a 6.0, which was my most recent one, and I put a baffled, it's just a bolt-in like baffle for it, because they have stock baffling, but they don't have like the trap doors and stuff like that. So I got one that has trap doors and everything, and then that helped a lot. I didn't have any oiling issues with that engine.
And that's the one that you sold or got rid of, right?
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
That's the one that I didn't have any issues with, so I sold it to a friend, and he's putting it in his Cressida now.
Yeah. Isn't the 5.3 is the 5.3 a truck motor or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's LM7, just a Silverado engine.
Yeah. And the 6.0 is too or no?
The 6.0 I had was, but they do make an LS2, which is an aluminum block 6.0.
Okay.
So I was still iron block 6.0 with aluminum heads.
Okay.
But
so you mentioned earlier on that you kind of got into cars, like like the old Fast and Furious or whatever. But like, do you have any like defining moments that just where you're just like, this is why, like for example, like I grew up Mopar. Like it's been a cult for me.
Yeah,
even though I
for
love
sure.
all cars now because I'm a photographer. Like that was just doing the Gran Turismo, driving the Viper, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Do you have anything like that kind of got you into it?
I mean, when I was younger, like I played a lot of Need for Speed, like Underground 2.
Okay.
I played that all the time.
Everybody's favorite.
Yep, that's the best one.
Yeah.
At least that's the one I like the most. And then, I think the defining moment where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do was when I was at that special stage event in 2016.
Okay.
I was there watching all the cool low cars, and I was like, these are the type of cars that I want to drive.
Yeah.
I want something like this. And then I had the Ranger for like a year, but then in the back of my mind, I kind of knew that that's not what I really wanted. So once I got the Cressida, that's when I started messing with it, and I knew that I could make it look a lot cooler than it was, because it looks like a grandma car factory. It looks like a Toyota Camry, but real.
Yeah. Yep. You know what my dream with this podcast is, by the way, is to affect car prices. So, like, for example, we're talking about, the Cressida.
Oh, like Top Gear.
Yeah.
If we just hate on a car, the stock prices plummet.
It's like, oh, you hated that car 3 years ago. What? No, there's video proof of you hating this car. Oh, well, I changed my mind. And
Cressidas are not good. They're $500 cars. They will forever be $500 cars, even though one sold for $14,000 the other day.
Dude, crazy. What do you think about that? People paying $20,000 for a 240 just to make that their like drift car.
The thing is I feel like the people that are paying that much are like, okay, I'm going to keep this stock forever. Like, people, like, when you saw there was a couple, I think it was 2 years ago or something like that, on Bring a Trailer, an S13 went for $35,000 because it was blown stock. And I feel like that person's never going to modify that car. Like, everybody that I've seen that has bought a very expensive car, it doesn't seem like they will ever plan on doing anything with it.
Right.
But I have seen people pay $18,000 for a 240 very easily and make that their drift car.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, right-hand drive Toyota sedans, like my friend's JZX90, that's like a $23,000 drift car now.
Wow.
Yeah, like they're not cheap. If they're in good condition and not banged up and stuff like that, they're very expensive.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the cars that I see on Marketplace, they're clapped out, they're saying all these like keywords that somebody would want to hear, stock, unmodified,
Yeah.
but in the pictures it's like beat to hell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, is somebody restoring this? Is this like what it costs to get into like drifting like these things?
Like I said, I've never paid more than $500 for a Cressida.
Yeah.
And I never will. Well, that's a lie. Last fall I paid a decent amount for a Cressida, but that's because it had a lot of stuff that I wanted, like coilovers, it had wheels, and I sold the wheels and made profit just off selling the wheels. So it was worth it to me because I got free coilovers and stuff like that out of it. So, but
That's part of when I was browsing Supras before things went tits up for me. When I was like looking at Supras, there was one that I saw on auction. Had an amazing set of wheels. It was an expensive set, and it was on coilovers and everything. I'm like, if I can get that car for whatever market value is, I can get rid of the wheels, and it's like, oh, I'm in profit.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, those are the steals you want to look for. I really do. I wonder what Eric got his 240 for. I forgot what it was.
Well, when did he get it?
Well, did you ever see his 240?
Yeah, I saw it in Ike's garage.
Yeah, because they're gonna do some fun stuff with that. But like, it wasn't the nicest car.
No, I mean, I saw it. It's they've got it down to primer right now, but it's.
I can't wait to see what they do with that car. That thing's on. It's got what's the RP25 in there? I think.
I don't know. I didn't.
I'm out of touch, but it's like they are so ridiculously expensive. Like. It's like that classic meme. It's like just before they post something on Facebook Marketplace, just take a good old hit of the meth pipe, or the crack pipe, whatever. Just ridiculous.
Everything's just overpriced, I feel like, and like even if your car has good bones and like good stuff in it, like if it doesn't look good, like nobody's gonna want to pay that much for it, like that. Like I wouldn't even feel comfortable listing my car at what I think it's worth right now, just because of how the body kit looks. Like if it doesn't look presentable, the person that's buying it isn't going to be super happy about it, Like
it gives them a lot of room to negotiate like down.
Yep.
Talk, Sean.
Sorry, I did not realize.
Got me mid yawn over here. No, it's I'm not like. I think we should try to flex on everybody. Yeah, we're recording at 4 a.m. right now, guys. They can't tell.
They can't tell. There's lights on in the building.
There's lights on in the building. No. All right, so do you have any kind of dream events that you want to attend, or is there anything like that you and your team or I guess because again you are in the hobbyist category right now. Do you have any ambitions of competing, or is that just too crazy right now?
The biggest goal of ours is to drive final bout.
Okay.
Like the final bout. Like we actually got invited to drive Special Stage Central, that's a big stepping stone, because you have to get invited to drive that event, and then you have to perform well at that event, and then you can drive final bout. So we got into the first section of it. We got our feet in the water right now. So hopefully we're hoping we get invited back next year. I know that we didn't do very great this year because I had a new car, and honestly, it was like some of our team members kind of first time actually driving on the big track, because there's 2 tracks at US Air. There's an intermediate track and there's an advanced track, and the advanced track they just haven't driven that much, and that's where we got judged. So we don't have as much seat time as we would have liked before we got invited to it, but we're hoping that we get invited back next year and have some more seat time under our belt for that event.
So how do you get invited to those? Any idea?
You just have to apply. So
okay.
There's a thing on Final Bout's website where you just put your application in, all your cars, and we submitted a YouTube video actually that was showcasing everything with our cars and stuff like that. So there was the main reason we got in actually is because there was enough room for us. Okay. If there wasn't going to be enough room for us, then we wouldn't have got in.
It's probably going to get harder and harder over the years as more people get into it.
Yeah, with all the cool cars that apply and stuff like that, there's a lot of teams, especially in the Midwest, I feel like now, and Chicago and stuff like that. That's where a lot of the cool teams are, I feel like. And they all apply to drive the same special stage we do. So getting into that event is pretty hard. I feel like that's the hardest special stage to get into.
Is that kind of the biggest name then for getting into I guess is there, for example, when it comes to drag racing, you get Texas 2K, FL 2K, Final Bout. Is there other versions of it around the country?
Final Bout is the biggest. That's the main.
The Super Bowl.
That's the Super Bowl of grassroots style drifting.
Okay.
So, yeah, because they have Special Stage East, in New York area somewhere. Okay. And then they have Special Stage Northwest, which is Pacific Northwest, and then they have Special Stage South, and then they have Special Stage Central. So all 4 corners of the country there's a special stage, and then they pick the. I think it used to be the best 3 teams of each one, and they would allow them to drive Final Bout, but I think it's more now because I think they picked 6 or 7 teams from Central alone.
Jeez.
Yeah, so there's like 20-ish teams driving the main event.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's growing so ridiculously fast. Like and honestly, like the tracks are like, I mean, they're not that huge. They don't take up a lot of space.
They're not very big. It's just everything to do with zoning, and if the neighbors like the noise, and
don't get me started on fucking neighbors. No. Oh my god. All right. It's been a few episodes since I've had a good rant.
Here we go. Strap in.
It's unfucking believable. Okay, so many people here know that I used to run a rally, or rallies, plural, because I'm a multi-failure. So last year we did a track event at Atlanta Motorsports Park, and amazing track, amazing people. The instructors were incredible. Everything was perfect about it. But the one thing that gets my blood boiling is that there are noise restrictions. So they will black flag you if you exceed these noise restrictions, and sometimes there's fines involved. Thankfully we didn't get any of those, but like if you do it enough, like as an event, I think they only get like 3 warnings from the city or whatever a year before they start getting charged, or something ridiculous like that. Like I remember reading the contract and talking with the lady, and I was like, we're gonna have a lot of cars breaking. Like a stock GT500 broke that barrier.
Oh wow.
And I'm just sitting here thinking like, all right, we have a lot of cars that are louder than that. Like Ross's Supra got flagged because he has like that aftermarket exhaust. I forgot which one. Krista's Mustang got flagged, and Dan's Mustang somehow didn't get flagged, which was the loudest car in the rally, I'm pretty sure.
Well, a lot of those tracks, they have a microphone set up at a very like certain spot. Yeah. So I think they told us like, just don't fly by, like let off the gas and then get back on. You just have to be, considerate, because that was the same thing when I went autocrossing over in Canterbury. They had a microphone at a certain point in the track, and they're like, don't exceed this decibel, otherwise, the neighbors or the city or whoever, they're going to call and they're going to kick us out of here, and we want to keep coming back, so please be quiet, otherwise you're out of here. So I was talking to my friend Piero about, like how
your friend.
Our friend. Our friend of the show, Piero, was there, and I was like, "What? Like, how are you gonna like get by that?" Because he's in the Evo and it's loud as shit. He's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna clutch in and just not accelerate at that one part, and then just continue going once I get past the microphone." I'm like, "Okay, cool," but like it kind of hinders your ability in like a competitive sport.
Get a good track time and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right. It gets me so annoyed. Oh, by the way, did you guys see like the thing that got shared all over Facebook? Like some guy, he had his roof done, and he had the shingles like made to look like a dick on his roof.
No.
I saw that.
Oh, this is hilarious. I gotta show you this after the episode. It was hilarious.
Was this Eric by chance?
No. But he I messaged it to him, and Eric always loves to remind me like, I've seen that already. This is my community. The roofing community is mine. Blah blah blah. By the way, if you need a roof, hit up Eric. But anyways, it's like that'll bring down property values. Like, I need to start going to these areas and bringing down property values so they don't build this. Like, we as a car community need to go out there and just make it impossible to build houses near tracks.
Yeah.
Because it's a problem, man. Like, I think 3 or 4 drag strips like got shut down in the last year or two. Yep. Like, notable drag strips.
Just because of noise restrictions and stuff.
Well, noise restrictions, but also just, turning the land into developments and all that. And I get it. We need houses because people can't stop fucking reproducing. Because everybody needs 16 freaking children. But so have you seen this? Like, you go, like, fucking Octomom over here. It's stop it. Stop having, like, get your white picket fence, 2 or 3 children at most, and please let's do some IQ testing too. Like,
oh man, this is Harris speaking from communist China.
I actually so I've been reading a lot lately, because I've been doing 75 hard, and I'm like thinking like, obviously I do like I read a lot of like personal development stuff and stuff about psychology and philosophy and all that, but I've been thinking like, I kind of like, I was reading something, a story about Mao Zedong or whatever, like, back during like the shitty times in China. It's like my brain isn't awake enough to get into the details, but like I've thought about like reading some of these like, you know, communist manifestos and stuff, and just see like what is like, just to understand it a little bit, you know, because like, as you know, like my parents come from a formerly communist country, right? So it's like I just want to like, because like there was a lot of believers, and even now in America, like there's a lot of people that are like leaning towards that because they don't understand it. But so I just want to read about it. But wow, this is really turning into a interesting podcast.
Yeah, your rant is taking a turn.
This is a fantastic rant. My point
Went
being,
from noisy neighbors to communists.
Yeah.
my point being, 2 children. Stop building houses. Keep the racetracks.
Keep the racetrack.
This is an honest man's journey.
Yeah, it's crazy that Brainerd is still able to operate, even though they're in a, semi-large town, and it's developing continuously around.
Because that town won't be worth shit if they weren't there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If it wasn't for that track, I don't think, a quarter of the population would be there.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people buy like a cabin or a house
for the track.
Just for the track.
Yeah.
When I went there, people from... I know like Power Cruise and like some of the events that they host, it's like very local, like, but I saw people from North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Ohio, Iowa. It's
a Midwest event.
It is a big Midwest event. So I'm sure like people from all over probably just get like, either renting a cabin for like those, days or weeks of the month. Like that is like the main economic factor for Brainerd, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my breath back after that.
Me and my friend Frankie, teammate with the SC400, we've actually talked about like either purchasing a home in Brainerd or in Shawano where US Air is, and then just Airbnb-ing it, doing like Airbnb while we're not there, and then like block out the dates that we're going to be at the event or something. Because then we can afford to be there more, not have to pay for any type of lodging. And then while we're there, it's just making side money, passive income.
Do you have any like side hustles? Because I know you mentioned fiberglass and painting and all that.
I don't do much, but I tried. I mean, sometimes I'll flip cars. I'll do paint stuff, fiberglass, work on people's cars for them. Just, I guess, whatever. I'm kind of a jack of all trades.
It's not much, but it's honest work.
If you're able to fix up like the exterior of a car, especially like something that's beat up, and like you can really like sell a car for more, if it has a nice exterior, because it's all like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and if it looks like shit, you're not going to pay that much for it. But if it looks clean on the outside, especially if you get like fresh paint and you get like any like key marks, scuffs, like you can sell that car.
A good detail,
which is usually just like a vacuum and you squirt it off. Like you can. Is that like the main?
That's kind of what I would go for. I got a IS 300 earlier this year, and I got it for cheap because it looked bad. There was a lot of rust. There was rust around the windshield. There was rust on the rocker, rust in the rear taillight area. Like it wasn't good. Which that made it a lot harder to sell because, like you said, if the exterior looks bad, then it just doesn't sell. And everything else was perfect. I mean, I daily drove it to work and back because I work in St. Cloud, so I have a 40-minute commute. And I drove it to work and back for like 2 weeks straight, and I was like, all right, it drives just fine. Like there's no issues with it. It's just rusty. So I made it very hard to sell. I was sitting on it for almost a month, and it was just so hard to sell just because of how the exterior looked.
Right. But you couldn't go on like any of your drift forums and like sell it on there? Or?
I had it on some drift pages, and then I also had it on Marketplace. But eventually somebody bought it, and they did turn it into a drift car. So which it was a great first drift car. I sold it for $4,500 for a manual IS 300, and I think that's a pretty good deal. It's just the exterior wasn't perfect.
Right. And that's just what you're going to get here in the Midwest, with cars from the 90s. It's a whole lot of rust. Yeah,
it's either with Lexuses, I know that they're either really clean or just rusty. Like there's really no in between all the Lexuses I've had. Most of the ones that I've had have been pretty clean, actually, because I like to daily them. Lexus is very nice, comfortable.
It's daily. An amazing daily.
Yeah.
I thought about one for a while.
Yeah. I had a lowered LS400 that I actually got from Sam Moraine. I dailied that for a good bit, and then I sold it. And then I got a Lexus LS430, which is just a newer version of the LS400, and I dailied that for like a year, and I loved it. And then I ended up putting coilovers and wheels on it, and then it was a lot stiffer, but...
Dude, it's crazy what coilovers do to a car. Like, even my brother's car compared to mine, like, even though we're both on coilovers, he has, like, a different brand. I'm not sure. I think they're nicer, too, like $200-$300 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude... That fucking speed bump. So Sean's neighborhood just introduced some nice speed bumps.
Yeah, I saw.
Dude.
I was like, well, good thing I didn't drive my drift car. I wouldn't have been able to
No, you would have had to park a fucking block away.
Yeah.
Well, they're just bolted down, I think, right? So, I mean,
That's
could.
what it looks
no,
like.
No, they're impacted down. They're like whatever those round-headed bolts are. I don't know how they're going to...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they have to, like, special tool like to pry them up or what.
You have to cut the stud off from underneath. Yeah.
I think because they have to remove them for the snow plows. It's not like,
Also, that's just for the summer.
Yeah, it's just for the summer, just because people love blowing through the stop signs in my neighborhood. So it was a safety concern
for sure.
But holy shit, they're aggressive.
They are an aggressive
they're pretty
speed
aggressive.
bump. Well, I'm trying to figure out like the perfect speed to hit. Spitting on myself today. The perfect speed to like go through those speed bumps, right? Because like I noticed today, like I go through a little bit faster, it's like a little smoother. But it's like if you go too fast, like I did in my Cherokee a few years ago, I hit a speed bump at like 40, 45.
Oh wow!
Bottomed out my fucking Cherokee, like.
Oh wow!
Dude, I've bottomed out every single car I've had, and I've had. No, never mind. I was about to say I've had every single one airborne. I haven't actually. The Golf's the first car of mine that I've had airborne. So, that's where we're at in that discussion.
Nice.
But freaking. Oh, I was gonna ask you this. So, we have a lot of young listeners on the show as well. So, like, if somebody wanted to really pursue drifting, not just like, it's not as simple as just choosing a car and getting into it. So, like, what are some things that you wish you knew 5 years ago when you got into this, and then like what resources could people use nowadays?
I guess what I wish I knew is get something that's low power but not too low power. Like
what's too low? 90?
90 is too low. Yeah, I didn't like that. But like a 350Z is a good power, like 200-ish horsepower is pretty good. Or I mean, a Miata's fine even because like. They have lower power than that, but they're also way lighter than a 350Z or something like that. So just get something that's a good mid-range of power, and then don't do angle for a while. Just try to stay stock angle.
Okay.
That's the best to learn because then you know your limits, and then when you do have angle, you can kind of look cooler, and you'll know how to get out of it better. And coilovers and seat is the biggest two things. Because you want to stay planted. Because if you're not planted in your car when you're drifting, then like you're focused, you're like holding the wheel versus actually just being able to sit in the car and just throw the wheel and just kind of you can't really learn your car when you don't have a seat.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. I feel like for almost all motorsports is having like a good seat to keep you planted, so you're not fighting yourself like the entire time, and it really helps you just like put more focus on actually driving instead of like keeping your body like in the seat. And then same with like coilovers just change a vehicle so much.
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, honestly, in drifting I would probably recommend a seat before coilovers even. Like in a 350Z you can drift a stock height 350Z, they're fine. They have a lot of body roll, but
I feel like you guys are just blaming the car for your lack of core strength. I think you should be doing more planks. Stop wasting money on seats.
You could do that.
I don't know, man. Fighting those G-forces.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Dude, like I remember. So actually, I've been in a drift car exactly one time in my life.
Okay.
And that was at Vegas for my 18th birthday. So we actually went over there. We drove the Huracans on the track, and then with the instructor. Honestly, it was great as my first time in a Lamborghini and all that. I would never do it again.
Yeah.
Just not worth it in my opinion. For first time, absolutely worth it. But second time, no. But then we also did the drift drive along or ride along. Sorry. I think it was I want to say it was a C7 Corvette.
Okay.
And like it was like typically like facilities like that, they hire people who are like ex-pros or like, you know, or almost pro but not really.
Yeah.
This guy was seasoned, to say the least. So he gets in there, he throws that vet around. So they had two cars. I think they had a Hellcat and a C7 or whatever.
Okay.
I might be making shit up on the Hellcat actually.
No, I got to go in the Hellcat Charger.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, they had a Charger. Okay, so I'm not full of shit.
So you fit, you know, 5 people in that thing, and they'll swing you around the track.
Let's just go to a takeover. We'll just jump in there. 5 of us. Well, actually, you can probably get 7 people in a Hellcat because you have the people that sit on the door sill hanging out.
Out the windows.
Real
and
drifters.
on the trunk.
Quite frankly.
Real drifters.
Yeah, you dorks going to the track.
Yeah, there's a perfectly good intersection right outside.
I kept thinking about that yesterday while we were filming the Durango because like I'm hanging on the back of the GTI, right? Because I have my gimbal and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking it'd be wild to see somebody just hit a drift right now, like while back here. Like I really want to get a shot like that. But I was like, takeover would be kind of fun right now because like. Oh no! I think I yelled at Alec or whatever, my driver, who was on the show before. I'm like, time to do some takeover shit or whatever, because like, you know, he has the Hellcat Durango or whatever. So
That's funny.
Oh, super off tangent, but I have to say this. The other day I was coming back home, going down 169, and I look over to the right, and in the clover leaf, like going into 494, there was a semi-trailer in the ditch. Like, I'm talking like this is a 45-degree angle or whatever. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, I wonder if that was like a takeover guy or drifter. But what are your thoughts on takeovers? Is that good practice?
I don't like them, but I feel like nobody in the car community actually likes them. So
Nobody likes
I mean, when they first started, I would make memes like saying, "Oh yeah, they're cool and stuff like that," but they're not.
It's gotten really bad over the years.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, down in Minneapolis and stuff like that. Like I know that like last year was pretty bad. They were doing it like just every weekend, just whenever they wanted, doing whatever they wanted. So I feel like it's gotten a little bit better, in Minneapolis at least.
Yeah, they've created like task forces and divisions just for
the takeovers.
For the takeovers, like they don't even like show up anymore. They just kind of like record everything, and then they'll just send tickets in the mail and suspend people's licenses that way.
Oh, for sure.
But it's like,
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a bunch of cameras on the highways now, so you know if they can like tag somebody that was there, and then they could literally like follow them along the highways, you know, for the longest time, and then they can send cops right to their door like afterwards and be like, we literally have you on video.
Yeah.
You don't know this guy, but back when we were doing some Venom promotion, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago when we went to Chicago, freaking one of my buddies, I think it was a Dill, they were picking up a car and they drove it across the entire state of Indiana or whatever, and apparently an airplane. Oh, no, not an airplane. So they got a ticket on one side of the state, and then they got a ticket on the other side of the state because they were just like, you could have gotten here in this amount of time, like doing the speed limit or something. I'll have to find a story. It was something ridiculous. Like they literally like did the math or something or whatever, and they're just like, how the frick is this guy over here? Don't they do that with like those planes too?
You ever see those signs that say speed enforced by aircraft or something?
Isn't that how they do it? Like they kind of do like a calculation or whatever. Like there's no fucking way he made it there in that time period.
I mean, that's just like that just seems like math. Like, you know, you have X amount of miles, and then if you have the speed limit be like, you know, 70, and then you know there's a certain, if they did the speed limit, they would go from, you know, if they clock you at point A and point B, your time should be greater than time X or whatever. I don't know. I'm not too good at math to figure out all that.
I got a C in algebra.
That's like the basic that I would figure how they could figure that out.
Yeah.
And I've seen too where they say like they have expert camera, you know, I like witnesses who can say like, or mathematicians who can look at a video and say with the speed that you were going in this shot, and then if we advance the frame by like 5 milliseconds, we can see you pass this line, and that means you were going this speed.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no way.
They can gargle my balls.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the speed enforcement thing is kind of it shouldn't really be a thing as long as you're within reason. Like
Within reason. Yeah,
Within
everybody
reason.
knows you get 5 to 10 miles
Exactly.
added onto the speed limit. Everybody knows that's the rule.
Like, I don't think I can get a ticket
Officer.
from admitting it on a podcast, but I definitely do 80 in a 70 every day.
Rookie.
Like, just that's just what I set my cruise at because I know I'm safe there.
Whatever,
Like,
Grandma.
Well, it's easy enough where, like, if you have a radar detector and then if, the flow of traffic's,
Yeah.
usually going the same speed, and if you see a cop, you can usually get on the brake
Yep.
before, like, and then get down to, like, 75 or whatever.
Yeah,
and
for
then
sure.
you're safe.
I want to say this was Dan Deckard, again, former rallyer of mine. I want to say it was him. It might have been somebody else, but I'm leaning it was towards him. Basically got pulled over, right? He's like, "Oh, sorry, officer. I usually have my cruise control set to 10 over." And the officer's like, "That's still illegal."
Oh, why? That's funny.
Oh, man. Just
I mean, I've
ridiculous.
definitely done some very illegal speeds.
What was our cruise control? No, we tested this on Venom 1. He set us cruise control. What was your limit on cruise control again?
It was like 110.
I think that's what Dodge limits it at.
Really?
Yeah, and then Mo in the GTR, because I was curious, like, how fast can I set my cruise control to for like max speed, and it stops at 110, and then Mo set his cruise control speed in the GTR. I think it was 88 was the max
Really?
in the GTR.
Oh, wow.
What
I mean,
arbitrary
And
number.
I want to, and I after that I was so curious, like what are like the max speeds for like every other car, because obviously it's different with each manufacturer.
Yeah.
And like I think Mark's GT500 was 120 miles an hour. He could set the cruise control speed for. So I wonder what the highest, like some manufacturers like. Yeah, if you really wanted to, I guess you could cruise control at 150, 160.
I wonder how they decide that, though.
Like,
they know it's illegal either way.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, maybe in, like, Germany on the Autobahn, like, a
Yeah.
lot of, like, German cars, they probably have, like,
They
like,
probably don't have a limit.
yeah, they probably have, like, if you can set it to that speed and you can get it that high,
Yeah.
we'll let you get there.
Yeah, for sure.
But the GT500 at 120, I mean, I'm sure they got some in Germany. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm sure they spec it for US or Germany and
Yeah.
stuff like
Well,
that. Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, a lot of, like, these speeds are controlled by, probably the National Highway Safety, whatever, agency.
Nerds.
So they're the ones who set, like, the precedent.
That's another thing. I could never, like, a big car like that. Like, you've seen the streets in Europe. Like, even, like, the big cities, like, you could never drive a car. Like, a GT500 is freaking huge
Oh,
by European standards.
I think it would fit. I just think you're just going to be a hog, taking
Yeah.
up most of the lanes, and you're
Yeah.
not probably driving it through a small Italian villa.
Do you remember
At 120.
Yeah.
120 cruise control through the villa? Do you remember I think it was, this might have been Top Gear, when Jeremy Clarkson had the Aventador trying to
Yeah.
squeeze through like this, like he had to reverse it or whatever.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous, dude. Cars are getting so bloated nowadays. Like, I mean, what's your car weigh?
It's honestly pretty light. It's like 3,500 pounds. Well, okay, for a luxury sedan, that's light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still have full interior and everything, so it's like, it's probably still about 3,500 pounds.
Yeah. What did Sam say his 92 S4 was?
It's like 3,000.
I think it was like mid 3000s as
Oh,
well.
like
Yeah.
32, 33.
I think I remember him saying it was heavier than my Golf.
Yeah, because his
Maybe.
is a luxury sedan as well.
Yeah, yep.
technically.
And his is like, I want to say fairly gutted.
No.
No, I think it's full
It's not
interior.
gutted.
Is
I
it?
think he just doesn't have a headliner. That's it.
Oh yeah, that might have been one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, he's working on his roof right now. I'm really excited to
he's
shoot
doing
that thing.
That carbon roof or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you talk to him as well a little bit?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was, back in like 2020, 2021, we were like super good friends.
Okay.
And we would, I would actually go to drag racing events with him and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like, been to like, Meet in the Middle, and then,
Yeah.
the half mile event in, I can't remember, Independence,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Kansas, I think it is, or Kentucky.
Maybe.
Kansas, I think it is. Yeah. Yep, I've been to a couple events with him. Like,
Okay.
doing drag racing stuff or watching drag racing, and yeah, we're not as close of friends now, but that's just because
Life.
life, and I I lived a lot closer to him back then, and we were both unemployed for a while. So.
True, yeah.
So we could just kind of do whatever we want. We hung out like every day because we were like, all right, well, we're both unemployed and nobody else is, so we're just gonna hang out. And that was when Sam was in the middle of his first rendition of the S4.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that episode was a blast, dude. Like, I think that episode was one of the turning points in how we want to operate on this podcast. Is like talking to every random person. Like, it's fun at a car meet, but we're trying to like cultivate this to be something where we do talk to people who again do cool stuff, whatever, build cool stuff,
for sure.
And all that. Like, I love having like shop owners, business owners on here, but also people like yourself who do a lot of drifting and are very good at it. Or at least from an outsider's perspective. Again, might be different from your perspective, like on ass, but
yeah, I feel like everybody critiques themselves very hard.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I don't think I'm very good at all, but there's so many people that are just like, oh yeah, you're great and stuff like that. Like,
well, over time, you're gonna, like, 10 years from now, you're gonna be the OG.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I always talk about like JWP in the car community. Like, he is one of like the OG. Like, he's been around like before, like since I was a fucking kid.
Yep.
And it's like it's crazy to see that. So like in 10, 15 years from now, you're gonna be like
the guy,
Drift Master Z or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, it's everybody. I feel like once you're 30 and have kids, or a kid at least, and you have a super cool car, you can just let it sit and still be cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was telling Melanie, I was like, yeah, I mean, after a while, after we get a house and stuff like that, have kids or something, then I'm fine with parking the Cressida for. I'll leave that thing sit in the garage for 10 years. I don't care, as long as it's still mine and
you have that option.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I still want to do it for at least another 8 to 10 years.
An option, just dust it off. Be like, let's see what you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's gonna be so cool, like, to see in our generation grow older, and just there's just gonna be like how there's like a bunch of like old heads in the drag racing scene and like in the motorsports
barn finds.
Seeing like where drifting ends up with, like, then we're gonna see like a bunch of old guys in drifting, because drifting is like a fairly new sport. It probably started like early 90s.
Yeah,
probably
late
like
90s, early 2000s, I would say.
Probably started. What is like the origins? It's probably started in Japan, right?
Yes, Japan. So who did a series on this? Somebody on YouTube, a big YouTuber, did a series on this. Basically, like, it used to be like a street thing. As
they went in the mountains.
In the mountains and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's kind of like the origins of it.
Yeah, so like the early 90s, and then it made its way over to the States. I think,
States was like early 2000s was when it started. There was a lot of people doing it.
Well, especially with Fast and Furious. I mean, that fucking ignited the car community. Like, even though it's turned into this whole cringy thing now, whatever, like, fucking superhero movie. Like, I think after 5 is when I started losing interest.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, 5 was like my, like, oh my God, did you see them take, like, I was still a kid. They took the freaking safe with Chargers. Go Mopar, that was, and after that I kind of grew up.
Yeah, which even that was just, you could tell it was the beginning of the end.
Hey, so actually, I just remembered. So there's this topic I wanted to bring up on the podcast. So I don't know if you remember KC from the rally, but he actually hit me up.
I remember KC. He's awesome.
Dude, he's a blast. So he brought up. He's like, "Have you ever talked about this on the podcast?" So like I think he said he might be moving or whatever. He's like, "What are the most car-friendly states within the United States?" I think this would be a really cool topic to discuss on here. Just for shits and giggles. Yeah. California's immediate no.
Yeah, 100% no.
Fuck California.
Well, for like modifying cars, but like I follow some, like, there's some really cool car shows.
If you're doing like
and car events
stuff, like,
okay, so let's factor that into the discussion.
Okay. Well, I actually think California is a great place to go for car related stuff. Like you said, like, there's off-roading. You drive like an hour, 2 hours out, you're in the desert. You can go to the sand dunes, you can go off-roading on the trails out there, like, whatever you want, they have it. But that's the same in Minnesota. Like, you drive somewhere 2 hours away to go off-roading, or you literally in your own backyard. But with the kind of shows and events that California hosts, you got like
car, the diversity,
the LA car show, the Long Beach, what is it, the circuit that they put on, just some of the things that you can do in California is still really awesome.
That's tough. Yeah, because like at the same time, like they also like that Hyundai, right? Like fucking they will give tickets to stock cars for being too loud.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Like I feel like you can make it. If you stay out of trouble, it's actually a pretty good scene because again, the diversity down there is crazy. You got everything from drag racing to drifting and
off-roading to some of the.
You're really harping on off-roading.
Well, he mentioned it, and it made me think like they actually have some really
legit,
awesome like dunes. Like if you're into like the big like Baja trucks, I love those trucks. Like I think the style is so
like
amazing.
Trophy trucks.
Trophy trucks. Like
dream.
Those are awesome. I would love to sit in one and see what it's like going 100 miles an hour and just like feeling
just
like
bouncing.
you're just
just like that one Jim Carrey or from Ace Ventura or whatever when he's in the Land Rover just bouncing like this.
That's how I feel in my
One of
pickup.
the best scenes
You ever see like the aerial view of those trucks? They're going like 100 miles an hour and you just see the suspension just going like but the cab is just like floating.
Level. Yeah.
So nuts. What about here's one, Georgia. Because you're near Tail of the Dragon, you're near those amazing roads. The car scene's pretty sick in Atlanta. That's where you have the real caffeine and octane.
And the real takeovers.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Takeovers actually originated in California. They started in San Francisco and like the Bay Area. Like that's where it all started, and then it just blew out.
Then the next, like when it started getting popularized again, I'm pretty sure there was like one in Michigan where they did like a highway shutdown. That's when it really caught fire. Like after that, that's when I started seeing takeovers everywhere. So, but nonetheless, like Georgia, like you're next to all those beautiful roads, like Tennessee as well.
Yeah,
I
don't know if they have any emission stuff or not.
That's the other tough part is emissions. Yeah,
because I know that like Minnesota, Florida, Texas, they don't really have any emissions. Like
that's true.
Big emission stuff.
Oh, what about Texas?
Texas, I think, is a great state.
I think Texas would be amazing just because of the modified community is absolutely
everybody
insane.
gets welds at 18.
And that's really cool. But I'm not too familiar with like their car shows and the events that they might put on. Like I know obviously Texas 2K, and that's awesome, like already like being in the state, but like depending on where you are in the state, it's still like maybe 6 hours away.
It's very muscle car down there. I mean, they have a lot of cars, a lot of diversity.
A lot of trucks. I'm actually a huge fan of like street trucks too.
Okay. Oh yeah, like those street F-150s with all like I've seen
with
all
the
the
5.0 twin turbo.
ones,
like they're sweet. I would choose that over a Mustang. Everybody has a Mustang.
Yeah,
nobody has a street truck.
One of my buddies might be doing that.
Doing what?
Street truck.
Street truck.
Like a new F-150.
Good.
They're so cool.
With a twin turbo.
God,
with a single cab, short bed.
Yep. 4 welds.
4 welds. I love it. I think the style is just so perfect.
Oh yeah, it's great.
We got Texas, we got California as options. California's again probably the most diverse.
Well, and it depends if you're going modify. If you're going to modify your car, do it carefully.
Yeah.
Like,
or in California,
you're gonna know. You're gonna have to know people.
Yeah, I feel like in California, if you want to daily drive your cool fun car, then it's gonna be kind of hard. Especially like, let's say my car's there. I can't do that.
No shot. Yeah.
No, 100%.
You're gonna have to trailer it everywhere.
They're gonna be like, there's nothing on your exhaust. It's just a pipe. Because literally from my downpipe is just straight pipe, like straight 3-inch. That's it.
It came like that from the factory. I swear.
You can see black on my exhaust tip. That's how much, like, just soot and extra feel that I have.
I've been trying to figure out what I smell like yesterday after yesterday's shoot because I was like, I smell like like I thought I didn't see any smoke in the sky, so it's not California fired, but I smelled like something was burning. And then I remembered that in my Volkswagen, like my trunk turns black, like really quickly from my exhaust. So I'm like, because the trunk was open, I'm hanging out of the trunk.
Oh yeah,
you could smell
So
it.
I
You're
was
just inhaling exhaust.
Yeah, so I finally pinned it this morning. I was like, what the fuck was that? Because like I still smell it, like it's burning.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I don't know. For some reason, like Tennessee isn't like
Tennessee. I wouldn't recommend.
like car scene
if
wise.
you move close to Tail of the Dragon, it's pretty barren. It'd be like equivalent to moving to like like the area would be like Knoxville area, and it would be, you know, probably equivalent to like moving to Duluth. Like it's a college, or like St. Cloud. It's like a college city.
I could see
like,
that, but even like
it's
Nashville,
very small.
Nashville's big though. But
I don't think it would. Yeah, well, Nashville's on the other side of the state though.
I know, but still, to say like Taylor's 3 hours away, that's not a big deal. That's like us going to freaking Brainerd.
I know, but like, how often do I really want to make that 3-hour drive? There are probably so many people that live in Nashville who go like, oh, it's just 3 hours, but they never go because it's like, why would they?
Well, and again, that's kind of like why I'm leaning towards like Georgia, just because like it is a large area. It's got it is a huge.
I just don't. I will personally. I don't know if I want to move that far south.
Oh, they got ridiculous laws.
Weather is disgusting.
They do.
So one of my friends, I think he said he's banned in the state of Georgia, or whatever. He has like a ridiculous ticket over there. Like their troopers are next level, I believe, is what I heard. Like I think their speeding laws are bonkers.
I remember driving to Florida.
But
and
keep in mind, Texas has that too.
Yeah.
Have you heard the ones from Texas? Like basically, like, they can get you like even for lining up. They can like.
They have really strict street racing laws.
Well, I feel like that originated from Texas 2K stuff. So.
Yeah.
I can see
and that I feel like that might be more just like Houston area. Like if you're out in some area like Fort Worth, Dallas area, or something.
Well,
like
that's
that.
where Texas 2K is moving to next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So they're about to adopt some new laws.
Yeah. They're probably talking to the Houston police, and they're like, all right, what do you guys do? Because we need to do that too.
How many extra helicopters do we need?
Yeah, a few people got impounded last year.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because they'll take seized cars. Like, we're talking 1,000 horsepower Corvettes and turn them into, freaking cop cars.
Oh, my gosh.
I think they had a CTSV a couple years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is like
that's pretty
nuts.
cool.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, they don't care for those cars. So, like, they'll thrash on them, beat on them. Then it's like, all right, cool. Well, it's impounded.
Their fleet, their cop fleet looks like a Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
That's my favorite Need for Speed, by the way.
It's like on, what is it, Too Fast, Too Furious, where they just get to pick whatever car they want from the impound.
I need to start looking at Texas auctions now, actually. Texas police auctions. If anybody else wants to try this out with me, let me know.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, or like Copart down in Texas. They probably got some cool shit. Like
bunch of Hellcats and shit.
Theft recoveries.
Yeah.
Let's check it out. We'll make a series out of it.
Yeah, we should. Oh, that'd be an amazing series. Well, I bet
once you're not so broke.
Yeah, well, that's
or Copart sponsor us, or Houston Police sponsor us. We'll take a car off your hand.
You know what? How about this?
Car.
No, fuck them. They don't bring enough capital to the party to sponsor us. What I need Capital One to sponsor me because I got fantastic credit using Capital One. So please.
Are you sending this to Capital One after?
Dude, I need
that one clip.
I need a credit card sponsor. Credit means get it, baby. Come on, Capital One. Sean,
we're doing the wrong podcast. We need to be doing a finance podcast.
Absolutely not.
All right, 180. Let's switch it to financial advice.
No. So fun fact for Capital One, by the way, Sean, did you know this? So when I first got my Capital One a few months ago, or I want to say 6 months ago, they have a sign-up program. So if you spend $4,000 within 3 months, you get a $750 bonus that you can use on anything else in points and rewards. So go to CapitalOne.com.
Could I use that $750 to pay off my debt of $4,000?
Yeah, no, you legit could. Like I'm not even fucking around. This is exactly what I did. I invested in everything because like I only had to ramp up my spending by an extra a few $100 a month or whatever. And I was like, all right, time to invest in a podcast. Where do you think this podcast came from? This was Capital One, baby.
This is the debt.
I think we have a new listen, I'm getting this bitch sponsored by Capital One. All right. Back to cars because I'm having a fucking heart attack right now.
I think it's time to finish off with the final question.
Well, you're the master at finishing, so go ahead.
Well, thank you. I don't know how you know that, but... So if you listened to the show before, this is the part where I'm going to ask you, you're going to have to choose 3 cars. One's going to be your daily, one's going to be your track car, one's going to be your show car.
Okay.
You have an unlimited budget. Imagination is the only thing holding you back. So this is really just to kind of let us get to know like who like your taste as a person, like what is like your preference.
Yeah. While you decide, I will go ahead and play some Union Civil War music in the background.
I think I'll start with track car.
Track car. All right.
That'll be my first one, which it's going to be a drift car.
I've figured. I would hope.
Yeah. I think I would have to go with like a JZX100, like a Toyota Mark II, which is like a newer version of my car with my engine. That's the engine that's in my car. It's that car.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a newer Toyota sedan that was right-hand drive, and yeah, I think that would be my track car. That's pretty much what I want. That's my dream track car that I can drift and just.
That'd be your end all be all
drift car. Yeah, that's the one that I would go for sure. And then you said daily and
show car.
Show car. Show car, I would probably do like a. Oh man.
Yeah, these aren't easy questions.
Yeah.
To make it easier, are you thinking like JDM?
Yeah, like Lexus.
Oh.
Probably like a Lexus. What is it? The LC 500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like
Those have been getting popular lately. Fucking
Like-
boats, but
I know nothing about those.
Really?
Yeah.
They're cool.
Are they?
Yeah, they're very
big V8. It's like a 392, but Japanese.
Yeah, and it's 2-door.
But it's luxurious as
very
fuck.
very nice.
It's a Japanese Challenger.
Yeah.
Japanese Challenger.
Prove me wrong.
I've seen a lot of people like compare it to like the LFA, just not with like the
Looks-wise,
performance, but like the looks.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
LFA inspired for sure.
Which an LFA would be cool, but I think more realistic. Even with no budget, I think I would still go with LC 500, just because they're.
I'll have to check that out. I've seen them and they look crazy.
They're very cool.
And with the little
some
touch
aero.
of Lexus, it seems like it would be like a luxurious.
The aftermarket
ride.
community, there's just not, or aftermarket support rather. There's not a lot there for like performance wise,
No.
but looks wise,
What is it, like $100K car?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd appreciate like a motherfucker because it's a luxury car. But.
Yep. And then I think at daily I'd have to do like a Escalade, like the CTSV Escalade or whatever. Yeah.
No Durangos. No.
I'm a Chevy guy.
So you want the slower
Chevy
double the
and
price
Toyota
one?
guy. That's my two brands.
That's all right. I fuck with the big cars. I like big, heavy, fast / slow vehicles. It's just kind of like my niche right now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm into too. Honestly, I always like a big luxury vehicle, but can go really fast.
It's just it defies logic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I'm trying to think of the designer of, I think it's Ferrari. Do you know who said this? They said add lightness and then simplify.
No, that's Lotus, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Lotus is like the one known for being light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like that's like their motto for like being great at racing, and then it's like Dodge, Cadillac, and GM just say like fuck that. We're gonna make a big heavy boat and we're gonna throw the massive engines in it. Just keep making it heavier, and we'll break that barrier.
Yeah.
We're gonna force that barrier to open up for us. And then they dominate. They can dominate.
Yeah.
Which like the GT500 is like perfect at that. Like, listen, again, big Mopar guy here. I grew up Mopar, but the GT500 is fucking perfect. I mean, it's an amazing track car with 760 horsepower. I mean, crank behind the balls, but
yeah,
it's just ridiculous. Like, it was like smoking that McLaren on the track. Like, it was, I mean, granted, driver mod, because Mark's an insane driver, but oh man, Merca. Well, nonetheless, where can people find you?
Like social media platforms,
plug yourself.
Unless you want to give out your address, that's your prerogative.
Yeah, you can. I'm on Facebook. My name Dylan Pride. Otherwise, Instagram x8_dpride. I have a TikTok, but I don't really use it, and that's about it. Yeah.
Everybody's giving up on TikTok nowadays.
All right, this is This is the end for me. You can check me out on Instagram.
Why do you say it that way? Like it's the end? Are you dying on us, Sean?
Yeah. This is it. This is the end.
Retirement podcast.
And this is it. This is all you're gonna hear from me from the rest of this episode. All right. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. I'll take it. Whatever.
All right. You can find me on Instagram, 1MN Mopar. You can see some stuff from Power Cruise recently. Just got a bunch of videos. So
yeah, we got to get you on YouTube, dude.
And we'll eventually get there.
Yeah. I like your username.
All right. Fine.
I don't find me. What's it called? And then make sure you guys are signing up for the Monoxide newsletter. Basically get know what's new podcast-wise, YouTube video-wise, whether it's cinematic or reviews or whatever the hell I'm doing. And, of course, wallpapers from my, I'd like to think, nice photos. So other than that, make sure you're following everything Monoxide. And other than that, thank you. I'm going to keep saying other than that until I beat it to death. Other than that, thanks for joining us, Dylan. Thanks for coming on. Sean,
yeah,
thanks for retiring. Make sure you get your double ARP.
Yeah, I'll see you in the next episode, though.
Cash out the 401k.
Yeah. All right, and see you guys next time.